When did you realize you had no choice but to turn your back on your own child? I raised my orphaned nephew as my own son for 10 years, and he took me to court the day he turned 18. When my brother Mark and his wife Sarah died in that head-on collision, their 8-year-old son Harry had nowhere to go. I already had 3 kids of my own, and money was tight on my teacher's salary. But Harry was family. He was this broken little boy who'd lost everything, standing at the funeral in a black borrowed suit that was too big for him. I didn't hesitate. We took him home that night, and I promised him he'd have a forever home with me. I kept that promise for 10 years. Harry got the same bedtime stories, the same birthday parties, the same Christmas morning excitement as my own kids. When he had nightmares about the accident, I'd sit with him until dawn. When he struggled in school, I hired tutors. When he wanted to play baseball like his dad used to, I coached his little league team. I never called him my nephew. He was my son, period. By middle school, he was calling me dad without any prompting. His 18th birthday was on a Tuesday in March. We planned a big celebration that weekend. Family dinner, cake, the works. That morning, Harry came downstairs dressed in a suit I'd never seen before. "Happy birthday, son," I said, trying to hug him. But he stepped back and handed me an envelope. "These are legal papers," he said, his voice flat and formal. "I'm suing you for my inheritance. You've been stealing from me for years." I thought he was joking. I actually laughed. For context, I held the life insurance money Mark and Sarah left him, $85,000, in a trust for his college education. I had never spent a penny of it. "What are you talking about? Your money's been sitting in your college account this whole time," I said to him. His face was cold, nothing like the warm kid who'd hugged me goodnight just 12 hours earlier. "I want every penny my parents left me, plus interest, plus damages for the money you used on your real kids. I have a lawyer now." I fully believed he was joking, until I actually found myself in that courtroom. The whole battle lasted 6 months. Harry's legal team, funded by someone, though I couldn't figure out who, painted me as a manipulative guardian who'd exploited a vulnerable child. They claimed I'd used his inheritance money to benefit my biological children, that I'd emotionally manipulated him into calling me dad, that I'd isolated him from his real family. But during discovery, the truth came out. Harry had been secretly meeting with Mark's parents, his paternal grandparents, who beat him as a baby, for over a year. They lived 3 states away and had barely contacted Harry since the funeral, but suddenly were very interested in their grandson and his inheritance. They'd convinced him that I was a greedy opportunist who'd taken him in for the money, and that I'd been stealing from him to fund my real children's activities and education. The depositions were brutal. Harry's grandmother testified that they'd always wanted custody, but had been manipulated out of it by my false promises. But the worst part was Harry's testimony. Sitting across from me in that courtroom, he referred to me as Mr. Johnson the entire time. He called my kids his foster siblings, and described our family traditions as forced activities that made him feel obligated to perform gratitude. Everything I thought we'd built together, he reframed as manipulation and exploitation. "He made me call him dad," Harry said on the stand, looking directly at me. "But he's not my father. He never was." That single moment stung more than I can describe. I actually cried in court. First time I cried in over 20 years. Thankfully, my lawyer proved that every penny of Harry's inheritance was accounted for, properly invested, and had actually grown significantly under my management. The financial records were spotless. So thankfully, I got off without having to pay or compensate for anything. But since Harry was now 18, he was entitled to his inheritance regardless of the lawsuit's outcome. Harry got his money, $127,000, after 10 years of growth and interest. He moved in with his grandparents that same week, taking only the clothes I'd bought him over the years. He left behind photo albums, family videos, handmade gifts from his siblings, and a bedroom full of memories we'd created together. I never heard from him again. But within 2 years, I know for a fact he was struggling. His grandparents had pressured him into spending the money on fancy vacations for the 3 of them. The grandfather crashed Harry's new BMW, and the grandmother, a recovering gambling addict, went back to it as soon as she had access to money again. I heard through mutual friends that Harry is now working at a hardware store in their town, living alone in a studio apartment and struggling to make ends meet. I still love him, but I've accepted that sometimes love alone isn't enough.